Pairs, orphans, and retrogrades. Christ is king. That means he is our king. He is King of Kings, King of the universe. This topic busted into the mainstream when I was in Washington, D.C. I was in Washington, D.C. doing Timcast, which was fun. It was actually a culture war episode of Tim Pool. Go see that if you haven't. It was supposed to be a debate with Rollo Tomasi. I'll be doing review notes tomorrow night on Avoiding Babylon with my friends Anthony and Rob. I won't say too much about it now, but I was there when Tim Pool came in the room and we were about to start. It was supposed to be a debate with Rollo. It was more like everyone agreeing, but if anything, a debate with Tim. But he came in, and before we rolled the tape, he said, "Oh, Candace Owens is gone from Daily Wire." And it has a lot to do with this topic. Now, as someone who's a 43-year-old Catholic, cradle Catholic, it's pretty interesting, isn't it, that anytime the topic comes up, folks nowadays, as Christ the King bursts back onto the mainstream scene, people assume that it has something to do with being a young Christian white male and trolling and sticking your thumb into the eye of non-Christians or needling opponents. Stupid, stupid, stupid. I want to talk all about how and why it has been characterized this way. I mean, if this really has anything, even something tangential to do with Candace Owens leaving a major network, then holy cow, how? This is a Christian nation. How? How could this be controversial at all? So over the last 3 days, from Saturday to Sunday, which was Palm Sunday, and really the end of Palm Sunday begins Holy Week, into Holy Monday today, conservatives have all been giving their perspective on what does Christ the King mean. And this is stupid. It's stupid. Now, you're saying I'm just giving another perspective on it. I'm not. This is just the timeless perspective, the undeniable claim that any Christian has on making as an evangelical Christian, a member of the evangelical faith that's supposed to be global, Christianity. We have an eternal claim on saying this. Christ is King of Kings. King of Kings. Wow. So it's stupid for folks to say, and you probably know who most of the folks are who say this, but all secularists cast this as some sort of troll move to declare on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, or to say it loud in a crowded movie theater, Christ is King. They will cry out as they strike you. They'll say, you're not allowed to say that. You're not allowed to say Christ is King. The specific tort they allege, breach they allege of good faith, that's anti-Semitic. Well, here, today's video, in the wake of all of this, on Holy Monday of all days, is it anti-Christian to allege that saying Christ the King is anti-Semitic? And the answer is yes. Because many of these conservatives that tried to have an interesting or a nuanced or a hot take on Christ is King would say, well, no, it's not. If you say it in the proper context, it's not anti-Semitic. It's not at all. But there's a way you can do it that's anti-Semitic. And I just say no, 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 no. Now, there are some people that might mean it that way, people that don't go to church on Sunday, haven't been to confession in years, that don't care much about Easter or fasting or celibacy or what the sacraments point us toward or self-denial, self-abnegation. They wouldn't know what the liturgy of the hours is. They wouldn't know what the litany of the saints is. They don't understand the disciplines of the church. Why did priests ever wear the tonsure, or monks? What is that? That's weird. If you think any of these metrics are strange or foreign, but you're still saying Christ is king, well, then you're just a poser. It just still doesn't make it anti-Semitic, but you're just a poser. If you don't go to church and receive communion on Sunday and go to confession, and you're still saying Christ is king, then what the hell? But who cares about that? I'm concerned with the Christian conservatives out there. I saw a million of them on Twitter that are like, well, sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Well, this reflects a deep-running anti-Catholicism in American culture. Forget anti-Semitism. That's made up. We have a deep hatred of papism, of the papists in American culture. And that's what's at work, clearly operative for all to see, when people even debate whether or not saying that the key proposition of Roman Catholicism, that Christ is king, is or can be construed as anti-Semitic. That's wild. I have a few perspectives on it that I think should clarify just how anti-Christian it is to say that uttering Christ is king is anti-Semitic. This is classic. They're crying out like victims as they strike you, the Christian. That's what society does writ large. They're crying out as they strike you, the Christian. Okay, so it's anti-Christian to say that Christ is king is an anti-Semitic trope. It's that simple. It cannot by its nature be anti-Semitic to say the central proposition of Christianity. Whoa. That's point number one. Point number two to take away. I want you to think about it. We have an evangelical global faith, Christianity. The great mission, the great commission of Christ to his followers was spread the good news all over the globe to Jew and Gentile alike. Announce, essentially, that I am King of the Jews, King of the Gentiles. That is the charge for Christians. That is what Christians believe. And missiologically, meaning that which is bound up in our mission, we must proclaim what we believe as praxis. It's both what we believe, and what we believe is that we must spread our beliefs. So it's like a meta belief system that is encapsulated by what we call evangelization.
I find it interesting that they're trying to make just proclaiming the truths of our faith anti-Semitic. We can't even just be Catholics and just say Catholic things without being anti-Semitic. And it's so silly. It's like, okay, if that's the case, if that's what you want to say about us, then fine. I'm not going to not say the truth just because you want to slap whatever irrational label you want to it. It's ridiculous. You're not going to shame us or scare us from proclaiming the truths of the one true faith.
Yeah, if it is, it is. I don't even know what the term means anymore. But here, that's Steph is really capturing the essence of it. You really got it there. She's doing this puzzle our friend Cheryl gave us. Thank you, Cheryl. Steph's like fast mind with puzzles, and it's supposed to take hours. She's supposed to take like 100 hours. She's gonna have it done in like 10. But it's an evangelical global faith, which is circumscribed by the Great Commission. Spread the gospel all around the world, that Christ is king, that Christ is God, the God King. And you do it to Jew and you do it to Gentile. So in evangelical faith like Christianity, there is no other one like Christianity, but I'm just trying to make it like a genus. It's sui generis, but I'm talking about it like a genus. It cannot comfortably coexist with other faiths. That's all this is pointing out, is it not, Steffi? If other people are going to start crying out as they strike us. I don't know who I'm talking about here. Just anyone that says it's anti-Semitic. They cry out as they strike us for just saying, hey, yeah, all the other faiths are false. All the other faiths need to submit to Christ. None of the other ones besides modern day Judaism are just like, oh, that's just what Christians say. No big deal. We're not going to claim that that's anti-Hindu to say Christ is king. Listen to the way that the Judaism makes claims as if it's specifically oriented to them. Now, they most specifically reject and rejected Christianity. Think about the history of what some call Judeo-Christianity. So it's most specifically, historically, contingently circumscribed by the typological connection between the Old and New Testament. But it's quite interesting, is it not, that of all the other world faiths to whom we announce Christ is king, there's only one that is so anti-Christian that they say you shouldn't be allowed to do it unless you utter it perfectly.
Well, again, I mean, the Jewish people were the original Christ deniers. I mean, that is the truth.
Yeah. So, I mean, then that's kind of what I meant about specifically, historically, contingently. Not all of them. Many of them accepted the gospel and became Christian, but then most of the rest rejected it. And so St. Paul said, you know what? I'm done trying to evangelize our people that kind of had a leg up, a sneak preview on this thing. I'm taking it to the Gentiles. What's St. Paul's patronymic? The evangelist of the Gentiles, the apostle to the Gentiles. Why? Because he was so fed up with the rejections that he was receiving. This is kind of like, and I've done this a lot over the last months. Take an idea to a number of folks, and you're like, look, this is a good idea. This is $1 million idea, maybe $1 billion idea. You want it? You have the first pass at it. And they say, no, I don't want it. You're like, okay, screw y'all. I'm taking it to the world. And to some extent, just if you want a further analogy, this is how myself and Steph and our friends who help us, like Nick and others, who help us get the ideas off the ground in multimedia format, have felt about Catholicism to some extent, and the ideas of, and not really new ideas that should be endemic to it, about patriarchy and anti-feminism. I have friends that have been on this show that have a really cool system, and they tried to sell it to sort of the Catholics first. Look, this is a cool personality typing Thomistic system. And if the Catholics aren't interested in it, then it's like, forget this. I'll take this secular. Well, that was St. Paul's relationship with the Jews. He's like, you guys, because of the Old Testament, which is true gospel, the Jewish part of the Bible, now not the Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud. That's a whole other ball of yarn. But the Old Testament, that's real. You guys have the first pass of this thing. You get the sneak preview. You get to get in this excellent $1 trillion business on the ground floor. $1 trillion trillions. More valuable than $1 trillion business. Soteriologically, the key, salvation. You get to get in on the ground floor. And some of them said, cool, we will be the first apostles. We will be the first bishops. We will be the first evangelists. Dope. They become Christians. That's like the apostles, and a larger group than the apostles are just known as the disciples. But most of the folks, and remember, there's a difference between Judea and Galilee, and of course Samaria, which was between them. It's not exactly the same tribes, but some folks accepted the message, even some Samaritans, right? And most of them rejected it. So St. Paul said, I'm taking this to the world. This is a globalist faith. And ironic is that, very ironic, is that of all of the world faiths that didn't even have the chance to get in on the ground floor, they never, ever, ever are the ones to complain about us saying Christ is king. It's always either secularists or folks who allege anti-Semitism. I can't remember who that would be. And there's this close connection between the secularists and the folks that allege it's anti-Semitic. So it just goes to show this principle that evangelical global faith like Christianity, one of a kind, cannot comfortably, I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm not saying it can't be done peaceably. It can. It can't be done comfortably. It can't coexist with whatever faiths would charge anti-blank against Christianity for simply saying that which we must say to be good Christians. Christ is king.